Beyond the buzzer, inside the game, this is Sports IQ with Larry Smith.
Welcome into the show. Larry Smith here, Sports IQ. Glad you're with us. Lots to talk about as we get ready for the abbreviated week. Hopefully you guys had a great Labor Day weekend. Great to be with you yesterday. We will talk Bill Belichick in a moment here. We'll discuss him in depth later on. Ugh, boy, that's just sales of Maalox went up overnight in Chapel Hill. That was just not good. Not a good debut. But we're also talking, the big trade that rocked the NFL last week was Micah Parsons being sent from Dallas to Green Bay. We will talk with beat writers and insiders that cover both teams, the Cowboys and the Packers, here in this hour. That's on the way. Also, conversation about a college football super league, and people thinking that may happen. I've got some reasons here why it's probably not going to happen for those of you who are wanting that, and we'll get into that. And Mike Gundy strikes again. We'll talk about that as well. It's a lot coming up here in the show. Let's get quickly to our headlines. Mentioning again last night in Chapel Hill, the Bill Belichick era started at North Carolina. Heels went 83 yards in just 7 plays and took a quick 7-0 lead over TCU. And that was a highlight of the evening there in Chapel Hill. The rest of the game belonged to the Horned Frogs. 542 yards of offense and 2 scores by the defense on the way to a 48-14 blowout of North Carolina, the most the Heels had ever allowed in an opener in their history. Look, at least no matter what happens the rest of the way, you can say Bill Belichick made his mark on this program. He's in the history books. There you go. More on that coming up later. Okay. Major League Baseball. Things now getting interesting as we're in the final month. In the AL East, Toronto visiting the Reds on Labor Day. Cincinnati got a game-ending 2-run single from Noelvi Marte for the 5-4 come-from-behind win. Blue Jays bullpen just melted down, allowing 3 runs in the 9th there along the Ohio River. Meanwhile, Boston taking advantage of the Jays' woes by beating the Guardians 6-4. Since July 1, the Red Sox have the best record in the American League, going 35-18 in that span. The Sox and the idle Yankees now both just 2.5 games behind Toronto in the AL East. Houston adding to its lead in the American League West. A long 2 years for Luis Garcia. The right-hander underwent Tommy John surgery back in 2023. He allowed 3 hits, 3 runs, 6 strikeouts, and 6 innings for his first start since May 1st. 2023. Love that he's back. Mariners falling 3 games behind Houston. Shane Baz pitching 6 shutout innings to end his 8-game losing streak. Tampa Bay over Seattle 10-2 Monday night for their 4th win in a row. Over in the National League, the Mets and Phillies both won on Monday. Philadelphia's Brandon Marsh went 4 for 5, singled home the go-ahead run of the 9th. Philly erased an early 4-run deficit to beat the Brewers 10-8. New York, though, keeping pace, remaining 5.5 back in the East. The Mets' Juan Soto tied his career high with 6 RBIs, and including a grand slam and tie-breaking 2-run triple to lead the Mets over the Tigers 10-8. Soto is just on fire lately. He is 11 of his last 26 with runners in scoring position. The Cubs took advantage of the Brewers' loss to pick up a game in the NL Central. Chicago's Carson Kelly hitting a tying 2-run homer in the 8th and a game-ending single in the 10th to send the Cubs to that wild 7-6 victory over Atlanta. Chicago now 5.5 games behind Milwaukee. Let's talk more about that. The Micah Parsons trade last week. NFL Week 1 here coming up this weekend. Tony Adame joining us. He is the NFL reporter for Heavy.com. Tony, this is one, and especially with the Jerry Jones, the Dallas Cowboys documentary out on Netflix. A lot of conversation here going into the season about this team. Let's first talk about Parsons in terms of why couldn't Dallas get a deal done with this guy?
I kind of I've gone so wildly between blaming this and blaming that. I kind of fall, I think, not on the popular side of opinion. I feel like Micah Parsons seemed like he just becomes insufferable to be around. And I understand things about their defense is one of the best with him on the field, one of the worst with him off of it. The thing that was so telling to me, and this goes back about a year, is I guess we'd never really gotten to see so much into his personality as when he did that. He started doing the Bleacher Report podcast last year.
Uh-huh.
And like every week, it seemed like there was something that just picked at the locker room. And over the course of the year, that I started feeling last year, it was like, God, is this guy really like this? I mean, can you imagine being in the locker room with someone who you're talking all this intimate stuff? You're talking about how you feel about your team, and every week the guy is putting everybody on blast. You never know who's going to get it, and that's one of your teammates. I found that to be totally insufferable, and yeah, they're going to be terrible this year. I mean, if you want to look for a team to tank, it's them. But I think with him, it was just like, man, it's enough is enough.
Yeah, it is. I just that's the thing that, to your point, it's and that's the other part of it too. I think is that there's the other piece, and maybe to your point, the Cowboys just said, "Hey, wait a minute, this is a guy who maybe he's not worth the money to come here."
I'd say one of the telling things too is, and I'm not saying this is going to be an indication of what's going to happen with him moving forward, but he did miss 4 games last year. And it was the first time in his career he looked like he wasn't totally durable. And it was when he was being asked to do a little more on the defense where they're, you hear all this stuff about the run game or them stopping the run. Well, that was something they were really getting on him about last year, was like, hey, you were an elite pass rusher. Be a more complete player.
Mm-hmm.
Mix it up a little more. Chase down plays from the backside if you can. Mm-hmm. I just, you got the feeling too that his just teammates. Here's a good example. He gets traded. Of all your teammates, one of them that I've seen, has stood up for him. That's Trayvon Diggs. Maybe the other guy everybody hates the most in the locker room. So, the only other guy you had stand up for you is the guy who nobody else likes either, who is also the one that just stirs up the most, and I'm not saying you can't be a dissenter in the locker room. That's good sometimes, but it comes from a selfish angle, it feels like, when you're using your teammates' struggles to benefit your podcast. And then, Trayvon Diggs, who for a long time now has been a huge money suck for the Cowboys and huge, personality suck for the Cowboys, is the only one that stands up for you. I don't say that this is going to work out or whatever, but I mean, man, 2 first-round picks, probably could have got another one, but on the other hand, the guy's gone. You don't have to deal with it anymore. I hope you're ready to go 2-15, but on the other hand, you'll have a really good quarterback or a really good player next year. I mean, they could turn that into something where they get the 1, 2, 3 pick next year. There's great quarterbacks coming. Yeah. You have 2 more picks. You feel like there's somebody else you can set the defense off or a game changer. Take those 2 picks, parlay them into a higher pick. Have a situation like the Texans.
Yeah. And my question too, next question is in terms of Jerry Jones. It feels like with this, with Dak Prescott, with so many other situations, that after 35 years, almost going on 40 years as an NFL owner, that they don't quite get the salary cap. And let me go back to the quarterback thing, that, when the Chiefs signed that massive deal for Patrick Mahomes, 5-6 years ago, it didn't kick in for the 2 years, but they looked ahead and said, this is our guy. Let's do this now because we can massage the cap number to where we can still keep a competitive team. Now, clearly, they've had to let go of some pieces, but they found a way to kind of keep it there. They lost in the Super Bowl, but listen, they won the AFC, so they're still right there. Other teams, the same thing. They sign deals, but they're future deals. You massage the cap. And maybe you could tell me what I'm not understanding, but it feels like with Dallas, in the case of Dak Prescott, when you sign into this massive deal as a free agent, you can't massage the cap. Like, the number comes due right now. And it felt like that was the same thing here with Micah Parsons. Am I off base with that, or what's different in Dallas that's other teams seem to find a way to do?
It might be from you are totally right there. Salary cap has really been his kryptonite, and the way that teams make sure that their salary cap isn't messed up is they identify talent from a much earlier point than the Cowboys seem to ever do. So, for example, Dak Prescott's going to be your quarterback for the next 4 or 5 years, no matter what, right? Yeah. You're waiting to, like you said, you're waiting to sign him to that huge deal a year or 2 after you should have. Same with CeeDee Lamb, same with Micah Parsons, and it screws up. It makes it so you don't, and you complain later you don't have money to get other guys. Well, the reason you don't is because maybe internally there's a huge debate over, well, is this guy good or not? Sometimes it's obvious. Sometimes it's not obvious. And sometimes you do need to wait. I agree with that. But in the case of, I think of the 3 guys, CeeDee Lamb was the one that was the most frustrating to me. Because it's obvious you have a top 3 wide receiver. It's obvious you're going to have to pay him. There's no reason to wait as long as they did. There's no reason to wait till year 4. The key for them, identify who the talented guys are after year 3, is big savings. They never do that. That never happens with them.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm not off base. It's not just me. Okay, but
No.
Okay, yeah. And to your point, it's one of those, like you said, and to me, you saved tens of millions with Dak because he was not a first round pick coming in, replacing Romo. And so you saved that money there. So, you were a winner, right? It's like with Philly and Jalen Hurts. You saved at that position. That was a huge savings. Now you got to, let's set yourself up for the next 5-6 years. So, okay. With the Cowboys now, like you said, the joke is, okay, now you go 2-15 because they were a totally different team when Parsons wasn't on the field than when he was. If you're a Cowboys fan, where do you hang your hat on the optimism rack?
If you were just a totally delusional Cowboys fan and you were trying to tell yourself, we can still make the playoffs this year. I mean, you're looking at a year where I've thought about this quite a bit. I think that you're just telling yourself now, we might have the NFL's best offense. And you're like, oh man, well, we got maybe the best wide receiver combo, Pickens, Lamb. We got a quarterback who's shown he can be elite. Our offensive line is pretty good. We have maybe a top 10 tight end in Ferguson. But then it's like, all right, also you have 4 running backs you're spending a total of $6 million on. You biff that. Another thing they biffed last year where they could have had either Derrick Henry or Saquon Barkley would have loved to have played for the Dallas Cowboys had they approached them. Their running backs are so bad, it's incredible. They're thinking about starting a 5th round pick with Blue.
Wow.
Who's already Jaden Blue's already been hurt a couple times. He's already had 2 ankle injuries in the preseason. I mean, it's just such a mess. You just say, oh, well, our offense is going to be good. Your defense is going to give up a lot of points.
Yeah. And you're going to open marquee game Thursday night against the Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles. So the emotions will be high there. And the Eagles, like you said, they go through and got Saquon Barkley last year. That was a big part of their championship run. Look at that. I mean, here's a guy off the scrap heap, if critics want to go there, and he had an MVP caliber year, and they win it all.
Yeah, you see the Eagles, how they're set up. Like they pay guys. I mean, look at their offensive line. They have the best offensive line in the NFL, in my opinion. They don't wait with those guys. They're identifying Mailata, Johnson, Dickerson. Now, those guys get big money over the course of their careers, but they're paying them ahead of time because they know they're elite. They see what they've done. Well, look at their center this year, Cam Jurgens. He gets 4 years, $55 million. I mean, next year, that's probably like a 4-year, $65 million deal. Yeah. Every year, they waste money. And, I mean, that adds up over the course of time. I mean, they're going to get – think of the Cowboys are on the other hand, the Cowboys are spending they have $167 million in contracts wrapped up in their 2 starting cornerbacks, which is just nuts.
Wow.
It's just nuts. And like this Deron Bland contract they signed this week, that's so crazy to me. They're paying him now almost, I think it's within like $500,000 of what Patrick Surtain is getting paid for the Broncos, who is the best cornerback in the NFL.
Yeah.
Why are you paying this guy as much as, and Patrick Surtain only signed his contract 1 year ago. It's it's nuts to me. They waste. I mean, you got a lot of money, spend a lot of money, but man, it hurts like you said, the salary cap. You can't get around that, man.
No, you can. And so many teams have found a way. Like you said, the Eagles are doing it. We talk about the Chiefs doing it. There are other teams that have figured a way to manipulate it. And they've gotten good at it. Look, I mean, the Patriots, we can talk about Tom Brady, Bill Belichick, but the front office figured out, well, we can let this guy go, get this guy to plug into the same thing, save money. That's how they built the dynasty, was they figured out how to work the cap. It was a big part of that. I want to get back to Micah Parsons, though, and he's having these back issues right now. Didn't practice on Monday with Green Bay. Could it be a situation as well that, is he healthy? Did they get damaged goods? Can he do what he has done on the field with this back issue?
Well, I think generally the term, everybody thought kind of maybe that he was faking a little bit of a back injury through the offseason. It was like, man, no, this really hurt him last year. And then when you hear stuff like yesterday, they're saying, well, he's going to need an injection to play.
Yeah.
I don't know how much of it is maybe him stretching out the drama, but they don't. I mean, the NFL takes that stuff pretty seriously. You can't make up that somebody's going to do that. You'll get in big trouble later if you're making up stuff about an injury, especially when it comes to injections like that. I mean, it's a real cause of concern, and maybe for the Packers, maybe they're looking at it right now like their defense is good enough. They can get him on there and just he's going to play. Maybe he'll have like a pitch count, which for him, you're getting him on the field. If you got Micah Parsons on the field just for passing downs, that's still pretty good, and then maybe work him up and see how the back is. And it might just be an inactivity thing. But I mean, anytime you hear that, you got to be concerned,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it's a concern because it's September 2nd, September 1st. It's not, December 1st, right? End of the season, stuff happens. You don't like to hear it. We don't want anybody ever doing that to make sure everyone's healthy. But it is a concern that a young player has those kinds of things going into the season, coming off the offseason, and especially where a preseason that you didn't play, you were holding out. So, I mean, there's a lot of issues there.
And do you think, too, it's also like, I saw a lot of stuff about him saying, I'm from Pennsylvania. I grew up in Pennsylvania. I played for Penn State, where everybody knows, it's really cold. My man, you have spent the last 5 years in AT&T Stadium, which I don't know, Larry, if you've been there, is just like a really warm, welcoming place. You walk in, they can adjust the temperature, and it's like you're not the guy that was playing in Happy Valley in the middle of November for a while now. That's your body is gonna. Oof.
Yeah. It's Green Bay. Nothing about Green Bay says warmth. So it's just
it does say warmth about Green Bay. $188 million. Keep you warm at night. You can just have a big pile of cash to keep you warm.
That's right. You could be like Dumb and Dumber, Lloyd Christmas and Harry Dunn. Just burn the hundreds to keep you warm. So you've got
like Uncle Scrooge in there, just keeping this fire going.
Exactly. Want to get your thoughts overall. You mentioned, I know you cover the whole NFC East for heavy.com.
Except the Giants. They haven't put me on the Giants yet.
Okay.
The people that think the Giants are going to be good are the most delusional in the world. I haven't been put on the Giants yet, but we'll see.
I was going to say, well, listen, there's a team that not worried about right now this year. Probably it's the Giants.
Sorry, go ahead.
The Eagles, do they have what it takes to repeat?
Their offense is going to be better, I think, than last year, maybe, because they have a little more. They're not going to try to. I don't think they're going to put as much on Saquon, but they might. Their offensive line they have one big issue on the offensive line right now. Landon Dickerson is hurt. I don't think he's going to play in week 1. He hurt his knee during training camp, but they have good depth, and the other guys are so good it might not matter. He's key. He's a big key to their offense, but AJ Brown's healing up. Devontae Smith is very good. Dallas Goedert's still really good. You have Hurts, who's just, to me, is the steadiest guy in the NFL, just good, bad, whatever. The defense, they got rid of so many guys on defense. Not got rid of them, but Josh Sweat left in free agency. Milton Williams went to the Patriots. C.J. Gardner-Johnson, Texans. Darius Slay, Steelers. And there's a lot of new guys coming in. They're going to start a rookie at safety, Andrew Makuba, who could be really good too. So, I don't know. A lot of it is I have a lot of faith in Cooper DeJean, Quinyon Mitchell, and then maybe they have the NFL's best defensive player with Jalen Carter up front. So you kind of, when I talk it out, I'm like, yeah, they could. The defense is just, they're young, but man, yeah, if those guys are okay and they've already won a Super Bowl, I think so. I think they can repeat. Yeah.
Yeah. It'd be fun to watch and see how this plays out. But I'm with you. I'm a big fan of guys who aren't picked early, aren't picked first round, and work their way up to superstardom, big money contract, championships, whatever. And Jalen Hurts is that guy. He just all the way through Alabama and Oklahoma, and then now in the NFL. Big fan of him and thrilled for his success.
One of the more mentally tough athletes I've ever, in a lifetime of, being around sports, covering sports. One of the more mentally tough athletes I think I've ever seen. Like you said, the thing with Alabama, I think that probably breaks most quarterbacks. You're broke. You're done.
Yeah.
I mean, he's had so much stuff happen. Even, last year, the reason they won the Super Bowl is their team could have come apart several times last year. Even when they were on a 10-game winning streak, you got A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith going in the locker room in the middle of that talking about he's not doing things right. Has taken shots at him. He's always getting it. It turns out the guy literally had a broken finger, just didn't want to tell anybody. The coaches knew he's just not saying anything to his teammates because he doesn't to him, it's inconsequential. It's just an excuse. I've never heard the guy ever make an excuse for anything, and he really could have a lot of times. And I think he's such a good leader and so steady. He keeps them just even keel.
Yeah, Tony, great to talk with you and get your thoughts. I know you're really busy, so we appreciate you spending a few minutes with us here. Listen, football's here, right? So we're all ready and geared up, excited to get the season started. Cowboys, Eagles kick off again Thursday night on NBC. Thanks for your time, man. Great to meet you, and hopefully we get a chance to chat again very soon.
Yeah, but thank you guys for talking to me. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys.
Absolutely, sure. Tony Adame joining us. Adame, I'm sorry, NFL reporter for Heavy.com. Tony Adame, give him a follow on social media. Heavy.com, check them out. We've had those guys on before. They do great work, and we appreciate Tony's time today. All right, stay with us. We've got more on the way. We will talk still more about Bill Belichick coming up, and also Mike Gundy, Mr. Quotable. He did it again. That's next.
Everything is expensive right now. Gas, food, you name it. You're spending more, you are making the same or less money. So, what do? You rack up credit card debt. That's what you do. It's not your fault. It's the economy. And guess what? If you rack up too much credit card debt like some of us, you can't pay your bills. Then the credit card companies, as nice as they are, start hounding you for money. Then you start your downward spiral. A smart thing for you to do is to call the Zero Debt. They can help you consolidate all your credit card bills into one affordable payment. Millions of people have done it. It works to make you debt-free. Make this free call right now. It costs you nothing to learn more.
800-507-7293. 800-507-7293. 800-507-7293. That's 800-507-7293.
You're listening to Sports IQ with Larry Smith.
Welcome back here. Let's get to a couple of WNBA notes. Last night, Nafisa Collier scored 25 points. Natisha Heidemann, stud buds, added 20 and a career-high 10 assists for her first double-double. The Lynx beating Dallas 96-71. The Lynx have already wrapped up the number one seed for the playoffs. Dallas, meanwhile, falling to a league worst, 9-33. Also, Minnesota now franchise record 32nd win. They had a franchise record 30 wins last year when they went to the finals. Of course, they're chasing a WNBA record fifth league title here in the playoffs begin in a couple of weeks. By the way, for Dallas, Paige Becker, she's going to be the Rookie of the Year. We know that. But she has now lost more games with the Wings in this rookie season than her entire 5-year career at UConn. Tough year for her and tough year for Dallas. Ryan Howard scored 23 points. Naz Hillman and Alacia Gray each added 17. The Dream closing on a 17-2 run to beat Connecticut 93-76. Boy, the Sun just have trouble closing out games all season long. With the win, Atlanta moving into a second-place tie with Idol Las Vegas, each team with 4 games left in the regular season. In Seattle, the LA Sparks kept their playoff hopes alive. De'Erica Hamby had 27 points and 11 rebounds. Rakia Jackson added 23 points, and the Sparks beat Seattle 91-85. LA just a game and a half behind Seattle for that one of the final 2 slots in the playoffs. In fact, speaking of the playoffs, there are only 9 teams of the 13, 9 teams alive for those 4 spots. LA right now sitting in 9th behind that. Tonight, it is New York at Golden State, the Liberty defending champions. They can clinch a playoff spot tonight by getting that 25th win and become the 5th team to lock in their bid for the postseason. Friday night on Ion, it's our final Friday night of this 2025 season. We've got 2 national games. Early, it's Chicago at Indiana. The late game is New York at Seattle. Of course, our coverage begins at 7 o'clock Eastern time with me, Autumn, and Megan. Look forward to seeing you there. I mentioned earlier about college football and the talk of a Super League. You know, there's been a lot of conversation about, gee, with all the realignment, what if the TV contracts expire, they do this? Well, there's a report in the Independent that really suggests that probably there are a lot of hurdles. Let's just say this. There are a lot of hurdles, because we never say never, a lot of hurdles to cross before we get to that, okay? It does quote Big Ten Commissioner Tony Petitti. He says he doesn't see anything in the proposals put forward by some private equity groups who want to do this to do something that they don't already do. He notes that 80% of the college football games played by the Big Ten and the other major conferences are already versus Power 4 teams. And that's even more so now that the SEC is going to be going to a 9-game conference schedule next year. And let's just play this out. So hypothetical Super League. Let's just take top 12 programs. And you can argue on who the 12, it doesn't matter. It isn't hypothetical. Let's throw 12 teams out. Let's take Ohio State, Michigan from the Big Ten, Georgia, Alabama from the SEC, Texas as well, Penn State from the Big Ten, Oregon's a team that's right there, Clemson out of the ACC. Let's grab LSU. We need a Big 12 team. Let's say Arizona State's in there. Miami is back among the elites. And, of course, you got to have Notre Dame. Well, first off, in that scenario, those 12 teams, Notre Dame would never do this. So right away, it's a non-starter because Notre Dame's not going to lock in unless it's just a giant financial gain. And again, maybe that's possible. But here's the thing. Let's just say you do have this Super League and these teams week in, week out only play each other or primarily play each other, right? To build their 8-game conference, 9-game conference, Super League schedule, whatever. Well, somebody has to lose. So why would you do that if you are grabbing a name, Clemson, when if you play your normal schedule the way you have, you've got a shot at 11-1. If you play this, you might be 7-5. I just don't see it happening anytime soon. I think that we are getting to with the SEC saying, hey, you've got to play 9 conference games, plus you've got to play at least one Power 4 conference team. We're moving toward where, outside of probably Indiana, I'm not sure Penn State this year, they don't always play a strong schedule. Most of the Big Ten teams do play at least one other Power 4 team, and they're non-conference. You're getting to a point where I can see later where in September you'd have sort of a Big Ten SEC challenge kind of thing, like you have in basketball, where you're gonna try to have to play each other, that kind of thing. I could see those kinds of made-for-TV games with all the TV money those two conferences already have. So I can see that. Want to get one more thing out of the way. Oklahoma State, Oregon, one of the big games this weekend. And you can count on Mike Gundy for bulletin board material. Gundy says Oklahoma State spent $7 million over the last 3 years, and he compares that to Oregon's $40 million. Well, Dan Lanning, the Ducks head coach, he took the high road, saying, we spend to win, and adds that they're very invested in being a top 10 program. Not the first time Oregon and their spending has come under fire. Georgia's Kirby Smart, who used to employ Dan Lanning, he was one of Kirby's assistants, has made comments before about Nike founder and Oregon alum Phil Knight's deep pockets. By the way, Gundy says Lanning and Oregon should only play teams with similar budgets. Lanning responded by saying, well, he pointed out that last weekend, Oklahoma State played Tennessee Martin. So what's good for the goose ain't good for the gander. All right, back to the NFL in a moment and more on the big Micah Parsons trade. That's up next on Sports IQ.
Fans of big sports radio and sports spectacular podcasts have a new home on the Chief Sports Network. Find your favorite programs and content all in one place by downloading the Chief Sports app in your mobile device. Created in South Carolina, the Chief Sports Network is the home of an expanding network of live and podcast format programming. It is also the home of one of the leading national college football podcasts, JC and Morgan, hosted by ESPN's Mike Morgan and 24/7 Sports' JC Sherbert. Download the Chief Sports app for free and find all of your favorite programming under one easy umbrella. Thanks to all of our markets for your loyal support of Big Sports Radio and our Sports Spectacular podcast, and we look forward to connecting with you anywhere in the world on the Chief Sports app.
You're locked in to Sports IQ with Larry Smith.
Welcome back here to the show. We want to get back into the NFL as it kicks off, as again we mentioned, Thursday night, week 1 here of the 2025 season. Of course, the big story, once again, Micah Parsons last week. As we talked last week, want to dig more into that here after the holiday weekend. Daniel Arwas is the NFL reporter for Heavy.com to help us do that. Daniel, great to see you. Let's talk first. When you first heard about the trade, what was your first reaction?
Yeah, so I mean, I'd kind of been seeing stuff on Packers Twitter and kind of less on Cowboys. I think it was kind of a denial situation going on in Dallas, but Definitely on Packers Twitter, rumors were heating up pretty aggressively. And then Tom Pelissero came out with a report that there were multiple teams interested in looking into it. And it kind of felt almost like by the end of it, it was almost like the cat was already out of the bag. Yeah, great trade for the Packers. For the Cowboys, 2 first rounders is nice, but again, you slightly worry about where those first rounders are actually going to end up. You know, do you really want 2 first rounders at 30 and 31 over the next couple of years? So we'll see how that plays out.
Yeah, it's fair. It's not like you're expecting the Packers to be, lottery picks if you're in another league, high draft picks. They're a competitive, it's a competitive team expected to reach the playoffs. But it feels like for this year, because he was such an impact on the field for the Cowboys, it's a huge loss for their defense now. And with just a few days to go until the season kicks off.
Yeah, so here's, I guess, I'll do like the positive spin zone for Cowboys fans. I'm sure there's a few listening here, Larry,
Sure.
Which is like, I'm not saying, and this is the most generous way I can put it for Jerry Jones and co, is that maybe they're kind of moneyballing here. And by that, I'm saying they're basically trying to get 3 guys who are going to replace his production. They lost to Marcus Lawrence in the offseason, but he was really kind of past his prime. He hasn't put up double-digit sacks since like 2018.
Okay.
They brought in Dante Fowler Jr. He had 10.5 sacks last year. He's been super inconsistent, but the highs have been really good. So if he can come in from Washington, put up 10.5 or even something close to that, we're cooking with gas. Marshawn Nealand, second year, he's also poised to start. He's been showing really good signs in camp. And the one who's really intriguing is the rookie Donovan Izaraki. Like Cowboys are sky high on him, and some believe that's kind of a really big reason why. Not maybe a really big reason, but a reason they felt comfortable letting Parsons go is that they think he can be an immediate day one impact guy.
Wow. Okay. That's fair. And like you said, they've got the draft picks. Let's see how they come out. It just was interesting to me as I was talking earlier in the show that, here's with the Jerry Jones Dallas Cowboys documentary out on Netflix, and the issue of the holdout of Emmitt Smith. There's the issue they've had signing Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb. And it feels like it feels like every offseason or every training camp, there's this kind of situation when Dallas with Jerry Jones.
Yeah, I mean, look, if my team that I own hadn't been to a conference championship in 30 years, Larry, I think I'd be trying to stir up some drama too. It's like, if I mean, again, not that the Cowboys have been bad. I think they have like the 9th best record in terms of regular season wins over the last 20 years or 25 years since 2000. So again, no one thinks they've been like garbage every year. It's not like a Cleveland Browns situation.
Right.
But if you're not really making headways in the postseason, I almost think it's intentional. Like, CeeDee Lamb issue was actually ended comparatively pretty early. Jerry likes this. He likes the drama. He likes this. He's kind of, I mean, some believe he's a little bit, let's say, careful with his money. But I think, honestly, he likes the attention. He likes the news. He keeps relevant. And, it pays off. For the 19th year running, I believe, the Cowboys were and by the way, not even close, the most valuable NFL franchise.
Yeah.
$10.5 billion, I think it was worth, or $13 billion. It's so, doing something right.
Yeah. I mean, they're printing money down there. There's no question about that. Talking with Daniel Arwas here from Heavy.com about this upcoming NFL season. So the Cowboys, quick question on them before we turn to the Packers. They've got the game against Philadelphia. And so for the first time, it feels like during this, since we began training camp, the focus will not be on the Cowboys because they're in Philadelphia, reigning Super Bowl champs, and the attention will be on the home Eagles on Thursday.
Yeah, it will be. I mean, with regards to kind of like the Parsons trade, I know a couple of the Eagles guys came out and talked about it. Jordan Mailata, I think, seemed pretty happy that he wasn't going to go up against him for very understandable reasons. Nick Sirianni kind of downplayed it a little bit. He's like, it's not that big of a deal. They've got Kenny Clark. And Kenny Clark, by the way, we didn't mention him, but Marzi Smith was he was okay in some regards. PFF had him as the 12th worst defensive tackle out of 220. So, there's a lot of people out there who thinks he's not even a vaguely competent starter. But yeah, Sirianni kind of downplayed it. Clark will be a big upgrade at nose tackle, which he will. They're 7.5-point underdogs. Like, no one in Dallas who's serious is going in there with major expectations. But in some ways, this really almost loads pressure onto the Eagles. Like, they're going to be expected to go out there and put on a show as reigning Super Bowl champs, against division rivals, just lost Parsons, kind of morale downer for them, morale boost for the Eagles. So let's see if Dallas can kind of rally and pull an upset.
Yeah, no question. Well, on the other side, Packers are at home against the Lions on Sunday with Micah Parsons in this back issue and the possibly getting an injection, that kind of thing. Are there any concerns with that team that maybe he won't be able to physically perform as he has in the past?
Yeah, so this was kind of, I don't know what happened regarding this. I wouldn't be shocked if the Cowboys leaked this just to kind of try and have a we won the trade moment and kind of debate some of the negative kind of publicity. But I remember I was reading some stuff on Twitter. It seems like this is kind of not uncommon in athletes. And a lot of kind of edge rushers, kind of or high-level athletes in the NFL need these kind of shots. So I really wouldn't be too worried about this. Definitely something to monitor. And I know that the Packers are pretty to very confident he's going to be playing week 1. Performance, we'll see, but I don't imagine this is any major setback for the Packers with regards to week 1.
Yeah. Well, you add a Micah Parsons to a team already expected to contend for the playoffs and beyond. How does this change the dynamic there in Green Bay?
Yeah, so the pass rush situation, especially on the edge, is kind of interesting in Green Bay. You've got Rashawn Gary, who's kind of that ultra talented, never quite put together consistency-wise, in one full season, that high-level echelon of edge guys. You've got Lucas Van Ness, first-round pick. Apparently, reports have been saying he's kind of been making big strides in training camp. We'll see what happens there. But in theory, that could be an interesting tandem. Now you add in Micah Parsons, who's this, all-world edge guy. So many destructive plays. I think the biggest thing is this Packers team, especially on defense, needed that blue chip, game-changing kind of player who can just steal a moment at some point in the game. The roster's really good. There's not many holes, maybe at corner, but that's really it. But they needed that type of elite talent to come in and just kind of slightly be able to wreak havoc and put on, the Lions D.
Yeah. Talking with Daniel Arwas, he's an NFL reporter and writer for Heavy.com. I'm curious, new team president in Green Bay. If you're the GM, if you're the head coach, are you concerned at all about your future if you don't have big success in 2025?
Yeah. So interesting you asked that, Larry. I actually covered this a few days ago. The answer is yes. I think both Matt LaFleur and Brian Gutekunst should be worried. I'm not just saying that to kind of be contrarian. They both been fantastic, realistically. Gutekunst has missed on a couple of big first round picks, but objectively, Matt LaFleur I think has the 6th highest win rate of any current head coach. Mm-hmm. He's an elite head coach, but the problem is they haven't really managed to kick on over the last few years, even under LaFleur, even as big favorites in conference championship games. And Ed policy, word's been coming out from the building from kind of Packers insiders that the policy may want to put his own stamp on the team. And, he specifically didn't want to re-sign both for LaFleur and Goody this offseason, wanted to see how this season plays out. So that's him basically saying, look, we'll see how things go. We'll see how the relationship goes. We'll see now with Parsons, the pressure's even higher. So if the Packers don't really win, I would say like 1 to 2 playoff games minimum, then, and definitely if they miss them, then, we could potentially be seeing a regime change in terms of either new GM and or head coach.
Yeah. Which is to your point. Yeah. You didn't get a vote of confidence with an extension. So yeah. So you are auditioning to stay, right? I mean, you can, paint it any way that you want, but in the essence, that's really what's going on there.
I mean, and in theory, it's an insane thing to do for a team that's had I think every season except 22, which was the last Aaron Rodgers year. I think Matt LaFleur's had winning seasons every other year. Like Packers are always well run, always kind of, in amongst the favorites to win the NFC North. And even that losing season, it was 8-9, where they lost to the Lions and Jared Goff, where a win would have gotten them into the playoffs. So in theory, it's crazy to be doubting this, but new guys come in, new owners come in. Well, not new owners, new team presidents, but guys want to make their mark and they want to make their stamp. There's a long history of kind of great team presidents who have won Super Bowls with the organization. So, policy is time. He's 50, he's in his mid-50s. There's mandatory resignation age 70 with the Packers bylaws. So he probably, to get fired there, you really have to be screwing up pretty badly.
Yeah.
So, he has 15 years. He may want to get started next year. We'll see. Yeah. But hopefully it doesn't come to that.
Yeah. Yeah. I hope not, because the way I grew up a Bear fan. So Bear fans will, but look, we have our own problems. When you look at the Packers, they seem for the past 20, 25 years, they've had things set and they've done things in the right way. It does seem. And to your point with LaFleur, 6 seasons there. This is now his 7th, 4 times double-digit wins, 5 playoff appearances during that mark. It's not like you're struggling. You're right there in the mix every single time. Hey, Daniel, we appreciate your time, man. Let's get at this, man. Week 1's kicking off on Thursday. We can't wait.
Yeah, I can't wait. And just want to say congratulations to you, Larry, for once again winning the offseason as a Bears fan. That's a truly great honor that you guys have once again gotten. So congratulations, and thanks for having me, Larry. It's been a pleasure.
You got it. Yeah, we're gonna hang a banner on that and then see what happens come December. So it's always something. So yeah, but listen, Daniel, appreciate that. Appreciate your time. Thanks, buddy. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, buddy.
You've got Daniel Arwas joining us once again. He is an NFL reporter, NFL writer for Heavy.com. Be sure to follow him on social media. Check him out. Like I said before, we've had the reporters from Heavy.com on. Love their stuff. We love having them on and getting their insights. Okay, we're going to talk more Bill Belichick, and our moment of awe is a really good one coming up next. Welcome back here once again. Bill Belichick and the North Carolina Tar Heels, just laying an egg, wet the bed, you name it, and they did it. 48-14. The TCU defense scored as many points as the Tar Heels offense in this one. Producer Tony, my son, came in late last night and was, he's 22. He's reading social media, reading all the memes, because the internet, they win every time. One of the best ones was one of the best memes that he read to me was Bill Belichick is used to large gaps between numbers, referring to his very, very, very young girlfriend. You can't make this up.
Yeah, it was, you kind of felt bad. Watching that first drive there, I thought, oh, wow, okay. Yeah. Maybe they found something here. Maybe the quarterback is better than some people thought, because he was a transfer, from, I think, South Alabama or something like that. Obviously didn't play the kind of competition he's going to face now. But, the memes are going to win out every time. It looked good early. Looked good for about all of 5 minutes of the first quarter. They come right out on defense, 3 and out. get the ball back, and you think, okay, if they can score here, the route could be on.
Yeah.
However, from that point, you talk about like a wheel falling off. All 4 fell off.
Yes.
The car was riding on the rims by the middle of the third quarter. It was ugly, and they had no answers. Quarterback Garcia goes out at halftime. He's got a back problem. They bring in Mac Johnson, who had the injury last season in the first game, has been rehabbing like crazy, trying to get ready. At least he saw some action. Didn't look too bad, but you got to wonder now for North Carolina going forward what's going to be like. And the interesting thing says, Larry, do you know guess how many players they brought in?
I have no idea.
From the transfer portal.
12, 15.
70. He brought in
70 players out of the
70
portal?
players out of the portal. They brought in 70 players. It was like an open casting call out there in North Carolina. I mean, look, I hope it works out for Belichick. I always wonder about pro coaches coming to the college ranks. It's such a different game. I know it's getting closer and closer, but I'll tell you what, for a guy who's not used to losing, a few more of these beatdowns going to wear on him.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and losing like that, biggest rout in his career, I think, right? I mean,
Yep.
it wasn't even close. And that's the thing is that, and here's the thing, it's one thing to be in the NFL where there's a system in place, there's a salary cap, you can pick, bring players in to fit what you want, that kind of thing. Boy, if you've got 70 guys, you did pick this roster. I mean, that's more than your 2 deep right there. Look, are they done for the year? No, they'll get better and they'll figure things out. But this is not a good way to start, and especially with the hype. And it was funny. Sonny Dykes, the TCU coach, and some players were like, "Yeah, we felt disrespected because no one talked about us." And even my wife, who turned on SportsCenter because they were driving into the holiday and she missed the game, wanted to kind of hear things post game. Even she said, "Why did it feel disrespected?" I said, "Well, why did you turn on SportsCenter?" Because of Bill Belichick. You had no idea who Bill Belichick played. She goes, "Excellent point. Yeah, you're right." So, and that adds salt to the wound that everyone's tuning in to see you. And the other team just slapped you around. So
big time. Time.
Oh, just was bad. I want to get in, by the way. You did a great job in August putting together the preseason top 25 for us. You had Ohio State number 1, and they came through for you. And in a tough matchup with the AP, no more, but the AP number 1 team, they did what they're supposed to do as a defending champion.
I've never understood how some people, fill out a preseason poll. All you can go by is last year, right? And you got to take into consideration the offseason. Look, unless that team that wins the national title loses all 24 starters, the head coach, both coordinators, the water boy, and the medical staff, they should be number 1 the next season, at least to start out with. And if they bomb, you move them down, but they've earned that right.
Yeah.
And this Ohio State team didn't lose all of that. They lost a bunch of pieces, but that's a team that just reloads. They've got guys on the 3 deep that would start at a lot of other programs.
Yeah.
Who are we kidding here, folks? They're still the best team in the country.
Yeah.
Until you beat them, until you knock them off that perch, they're the number 1 team.
Yeah. And you're right. Especially in football, when Ohio State, Georgia, Alabama, they just reload every year. Texas is the same way. They just reload. But yeah, they look better. It was funny. Speaking of preseason polls, this is why I don't get caught up in preseason polls, because they are what they are. I'll never forget a couple of years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, during the summer, when Kentucky had 0 players on their roster under John Calipari. They're in the middle of, working out NIL deals, whatever it is. And yet there is a certain national pundit at Kentucky number 1 in the nation. Even though they had 0 players. And I'm like, how are they number 1? You don't even know who's playing.
Right.
So, your point.
It's kind of hard to be number 1. Okay, who's your starting 5? I'm not sure.
I don't know, but whoever it's going to be, they'll be better than everybody else.
Right.
So anyway, well done. Ohio State going 1-0, the big win over the weekend. Okay, our moment of Oz up next.
Hey, airline travelers, let's say you have a problem and you need to change or cancel an existing airline reservation. What do? Well, Skywatch is a free service that can help anyone with any airline reservation fix it. Whether you want to cancel it, change your dates, or add passengers, we can help fix your airline reservations so you get exactly what you need. We've updated our computer database and now have access to every airline around the globe. So now you can make one phone call regardless of who booked your airline tickets, and we'll change it, cancel it, and fix it for you. We know the insider secrets to fixing reservations that the airlines don't want you to know about. So if you need to cancel, change, or modify an existing airline reservation, call Skywatch right now. It's a free call, so let us fix it for you. 800-413-7158. 800-413-7158. 800-413-7158. That's 800-413-7158.
Okay, time now for a moment of awe. We talked yesterday about Tarleton State coming through and surprising, knocking off Army, the FCS school, knocking off the FBS school. Well, there was a Black Knight who certainly, he could say, be all you can be, and he was. Larry Pickett Jr., a sophomore, rescued a man from a burning car early Sunday morning. This was just crazy. The vehicle hit a utility pole. It was engulfed in flames. He jumps in despite the power lines, despite the fire, and pulls the man out of the car, out of harm's way before flames fully erupted. I mean, this is like out of a Hollywood movie or something. He did this. And Pickett posting on social media, "Thank you, Jesus, that this man will live to see another day." That's his dad posted that on social media, by the way, Larry Sr. But Larry Pickett Jr. made his first career appearance in Friday's loss to Tarleton State. Got a tackle, but boy, he saved his best for last in this weekend. Larry Pickett Jr. truly deserves our moment of awe. Hey, appreciate our guests coming by. Tony Adame is here. Also, Daniel Armas. Appreciate you as well. Let's make it a great Tuesday, and we'll do it again tomorrow here on the Sports IQ.
Thanks for listening to Sports IQ with Larry Smith, Monday through Friday. Continue the conversation at Sports IQ LS. We'll see you next time.